Exiles, this is Ryan from Behind Eyes Gaming, and it's been about 24 hours since the league has started, and I'm going to go over my build. So first of all, just a pre-warning, if you do not have leveling uniques, especially a tabula rasa, do not level this character. Leveling it normally without any kind of leveling uniques was an absolute nightmare. It took longer than any character in probably about 3 years. It's been a long time since I've had a character that's done this poorly in League Start. However, once it gets to the end game, once it gets some gear, and once it gets everything set up, it's actually pretty strong, and I'll show you that both defensively and offensively. But first, let's just go over my character, level 69, nice. Running Blazing Salvo. I'm also considering running Magma Orb. I've been testing back and forth on that. So far, I've been more into Blazing Salvo though, and it seems to be better. Now, one of the things that I'm looking for potentially is to get some extra AoE clear, and that's going to need an Impulsa. But I'll talk about that a little bit more later. But yeah, my life is 3186, and my mana is 3,343, with an unused mana of 3,003. Now, I gain 20% of my life per second as life if I'm not at max life, and that is 600 or so, like 660 regen per second, which is very powerful. And I'm also using Mind Over Matter. So here's the skill tree so far. I got the mana regen stuff, mana regen flask, all that flask stuff as well. I'll probably have to get this one as well. I have my first 3 ascendancies. I got Veteran Bowyer, and then I got Nature's Boon, and then Master Alchemist. And having to go up the tree, I didn't have any damage at all for the first a lot of levels, because I literally got everything as I went through. So my first damage nodes I got were technically Forethought, and really, I guess, like up until I got all the way up to Arcanist Dominion, I had like 0, 0, 0 damage. It was awful. But once I started getting damage and AoE, and the biggest one of all was Prodigal Perfection, whichever. Once I got that, it was actually a pretty substantial amount of damage. That's 50% spell damage. Made a big difference. So once I got all this AoE and that up here, it was good. And then I went over here and got this AoE and started getting damage here. And I also got Thunderous Salvo because I decided to do Unleash. So currently I can cast my Blazing Salvo 5 times at once. As you can see, it drops a lot of balls. How many balls? Well, we have our currently 7 from Blazing Salvo, and then an additional 4, so 11. So 11 times 5, 55 balls. That's how many I shoot with my Blazing Salvo at the moment. I'm considering taking off GMP for something else, but we'll have to test that still. I've tested Fork a little bit. It's interesting, but I'm not sure whether or not I like it, but at least it's a more damage multiplier. But the nice thing about GMP is that it has a 165% mana multiplier. So as you can see, I am doing 6,572 tooltip, goes down to 5,667, even though this has a less damage multiplier and this one has a more damage multiplier, because the mana multiplier adds so much flat lightning damage. Like it goes 22, 24 to 2549, all the way down to 1755 to 2080. So really substantial amount. The mana multipliers make a very large difference in builds that use Archmage. I already have my Archmage up to level quality 19 rather. So that's going to be really nice as well. But yeah, let's go over the gear. I have 3 notable pieces of gear. You know this. I have a 6-link. I bought this with my very first Exalt, and it's not the greatest 6-link, but it's mine, and it had the colors I needed. So I did pay an Exalt for this, just so I could get some damage earlier, because I was having a lot of trouble on a 4-link. And I have in that Blazing Salvo, Unleash, Archmage, Controlled Destruction, Elemental Focus, and Greater Multiple Projectiles. Later on, when I have an Impulsa 6-link, I'll remove Elemental Focus and put something else, probably Elemental Penetration or just Lightning Penetration. I've also tried Pinpoint, which gives additional projectiles, but because we're using up so much of the mana, honestly, I'm not getting the intensity benefit, so it's really kind of just a less multiplier for more projectiles. Doesn't really seem worth it, so I did not want to do that. So I pulled that out. I'm still leveling it in case I change my mind later, but at the moment it's not feeling that great. And so I'm also using Sniper's Mark to increase my single target. This does another thing as well, which is that you gain a life flask charge when you hit a cursed enemy, no more than once every 0.5 seconds, and you gain a mana flask charge when you hit a cursed enemy, no more than 0.5 seconds. Since I am a good old-fashioned Pathfinder, I have a lot of flask stuff, including reduce flask charge used to increase duration, lots of stuff like that. When I use my mana flask, instead of using 8 out of 42 charges, it uses 3. That means, and it takes 4.9 seconds. That means I throw on the Sniper's Mark and I pound on that Enduring Eternal Mana Flask of Adrenaline that I have currently, and I'm never going to run out of flask charges. But because before this charge, before the flask duration ends, I will have regenerated the flask charges even against bosses without killing anything already. So I cannot run out of flask charges with Sniper's Mark. That's also going to be the case when I pick up Essence Extraction, which gives 1 mana flask charge every 3 seconds. It's going to be literally impossible for me to ever run out of mana flasks. It's just not going to happen. So I will always have mana flask, and I can always have it up, including against bosses, including against Awakener, all of that. So that's pretty big. I have Flame Wall, which isn't, honestly, it hasn't been that good. It gives me extra damage for each projectile that passes through, but compared to like the extra damage I get from, say, my Archmage, it seems like a very trivial amount. I barely notice it, and I've considered just getting rid of it. It does look cool though, so I'm keeping it, and I'll have to do the actual math to see if the 52 to 79 extra damage, if it passes through, when applied to 52, whatever it was, 55 projectiles at 40% effectiveness, and then also, yeah, we'll just call it 40% effectiveness. I'll have to do the math to see if that ends up being worth it, because that's a lot of math to do, and I didn't have time to do it. I've been playing and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, so I think, oh yeah, and then of course, I also have Arcane Cloak linked with Arcane Surge and increased duration. So this gives me Arcane Surge every time I Arcane Cloak. Arcane Cloak is currently giving me 1801 in shield, and it increases my DPS quite substantially. So about 10,000 per hit when I have that on, because I also get buff grants added lightning damage equal to 13% of the mana spent by this skill. You can kind of see it brings me down to about 1,300, so I'm spending about 2,000, so it goes to a very nice amount. So I go from 2224, 2549 up to 3321 to 3703 lightning damage. So very significant amount of lightning damage gained, plus the more damage multiplier from the Arcane Surge. So every time I press that, it's really huge for my damage. So I've got that. And then lastly, I use Blood Rage in order to generate Frenzy charges. As you can see, I out-regen Blood Rage by quite a lot. It literally... I will not lose mana from Blood Rage, so I won't lose life. It makes no difference because my mana regeneration per second, even before Arcane Surge, is 291.2, and then 374.3, and then of course I always have my mana flask too, and the life, my life regen is very high as well, because it's 101.1 as a base, and the moment it drops below full, it goes up to 770 or something like that. So it's a lot of life regen, and that's without my life flask, which I also get additional benefit. I don't even have a well-rolled life flask or the highest life flask I can get or anything. So yeah, all that's going. And that's pretty much the character. Oh, an important part as well. So the Brine King, it is a make sure you can't be stun locked. Since your actual life total is so low, It's going to make it so you can't get locked in place. You have time to escape. Very, very important, because you will get stunned with this build. I'll probably have to get some stun immunity later on, but I'm just going to do a quick map. I haven't done any maps. I just got to end game just now, so I'll do a quick tower with Sea Witches and Frenzy Charges on hit and show you guys how it works. So I'm not very good at playing a Pathfinder. It's a very active playstyle. And I'll also be streaming on Twitch more frequently during this first week. So you can check me out on twitch.tv/RyanBEG, and that's Ryan, R-A-I-N. And yeah, there will be a link to that in the description below. But as you can see, I one-shot rares. The area coverage isn't very good, which is why I want an Impulsa. I am scaling a lot of area. I've got 50%. I'm not going to be able to get a whole lot more than that, although I will get more than that eventually. Yeah, I'll just pump on through. I'm not going to backtrack a lot here. But yeah, it's been... the damage is really good. The coverage is not great. So Impulses will cover that. The damage is going to be much higher, much higher as I get geared. Oh, I actually forgot to go over the gear. Speaking of, here's my helmet. It's got 120 life and double resist. So 40 cold, 28 lightning, which is incredible. It's also got discharge damage, which is insane. So I rolled a tier 1. I just identified this. It's got a tier 1 life roll, a tier 2 evasion life hybrid. And then this belt, which is life triple resist with a lot of resist. I'm talking like, what are we at? 72, 92 resists, and then over 100 life, plus I had craftable mana on it. Incredible. All of my other gears kind of garbage. Garbage ring here, really bad. 39 life, 41 mana, some resists, very low resist. Low lightning damage to spells, crafted spell damage, some crit chances, spells, and mana. Pretty bad. This is the worst one of all. It has 41% fire damage, which was helpful earlier, and some cast speed. I need to replace this ASAP. This ring, 40 life, 29 mana, nothing else, some cast speed. Need to replace that right away. This one actually does give me percent mana regeneration, and a little bit of spell damage, so it's not all that bad. Then I'm using a Victario's Flight. 15, this does nothing. And the gloves, I guess these are fine. So most of my gear is absolute garbage. But once I get all of that rolling, and once I have everything, oh yeah, I have other flasks too. I have a granite flask, which I haven't rolled, and I also have a sulfur flask, which I'm gonna have 50% increased flask effect total. So instead of 40% damage, it'll give me 60% damage on a button press, which is pretty nice. I'm gonna try to do Itziri pretty quick and get an Itziri's promise. That's important for the build because it is a very significant amount of damage, and it gives leech on top of that. So that'll be huge. I should definitely be picking up shields. I keep forgetting how bad my shield is, but I'm gonna buy myself out of the gear more than likely, or just craft it. I have a lot of currency this league from doing all of the, how good's Eternal? Maybe I'll do Eternal. I'll have to do the math to see. I normally don't spend so much time thinking about flasks, but this really has me doing that. And as you can see, the playstyle, you actually do damage as your salvos fly over the tops of things. Oh, that's a loud noise for a blueprint. But yeah, you do a lot of damage you do damage when it goes over things, and then again when it lands. So against like the packs, you might want to fly it over, but against single target, you just want to aim it directly at the ground, because then more of the salvos will hit it. But so if you're attacking a pack, if I come up on a big pack, you want to aim through it so it hits the back. And if there's a rare in the pack, you want to aim through it and onto the rare, because then it'll land on top of the rare, and the more salvos will hit the rare. So that's kind of how you want to play Blazing Salvos. It takes some getting used to, and on a lot of different levels. I'm not even pressing half of my stuff most of the time. As you can see, it's so powerful. I don't even need to use my main mechanics sometimes. I don't need to press my flasks. It helps when I do, though, obviously. like defensively and offensively. I hope I don't get too lazy with that. I should be semi-frequently, but there, that was a good example. These were moving towards it, and I shot through those and hit the rare behind them. That's the important part. Oh, somebody wants to buy my Eye of Chayula. But first I want to fight this boss. Let's see, 1 sec. Alright. He'll probably be gone before. This is taking forever. No problem. Okay. And I can put down my firewall. I don't know how much of a difference that makes. Oh, I actually one-shot him. I didn't even notice that. So yeah, I one-shot the boss, my very first map boss. There you go. And then, so same kind of thing. I'm going to press all of my flasks, put this up, get this on there. Okay, I didn't get a very good setup there. But I forgot to put on the sniper's mark, which does 30% increased damage takes. So it's a 30% more multiplier, basically. It's a big difference. So yeah, that's pretty much the build. It is pretty strong, stronger than I expected. So hope you enjoyed. And yeah, once again, don't level this. If you do not have leveling gear, it's gonna suck. You're gonna hate your life. It's gonna take like 12 hours to level to end game, if not more. It didn't take me that long, but it might take you that long. Who knows? Depending on how fast you level. I guess it could be quicker. Either way, don't do it. This has been Ryan from Behind Eyes Gaming. Links to stuff in the description, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.